Welcome to the Missouri Baptist University Football Coaches Show. It's head coach Jason Buryanek. I'm Harry Schrader. Glad you're with us today on the Spartan Digital Network, and we're talking to you after another victory, third win of the year. You guys had a really nice performance last Saturday. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a good team win for us. We didn't play 100%. We were far from it. We were sloppy, but there was a lot of goods that came out of that because throughout that game we had to overcome obstacles. We started off in a 10-0 deficit and then we're able to fight back and take the lead. And it was a little bit back and forth there, but then as the game went on, our defense really stepped up and offense kept us in it. So I was really proud of the guys. Those are the games that we've got to start winning. Games where it's not necessarily the prettiest game, but you win, and that's really what the bottom line is. That's what we talked about afterward.
You guys gave up a lot of points in the first half. Did you make any adjustments in the second half? You said the defense stepped up, but did you guys make any changes?
I wouldn't say as much changes as just, we really harped on guys doing their job. I think one of the things that we get into a little bit with some of these young guys is they try to do more than what they need to do, and it in turn kind of takes them out of position, takes a few other guys out of position, and big plays happen. There were really small things that happened that we were able to get fixed and really get coached up. It was alignment issues or maybe just not paying attention to our keys, and some of that was having Kenyon Perkins out there as a freshman for the first time as Mike linebacker, but just little things. And then the big story of that first half was penalties, and we did a good job in the second half of erasing some of those penalties. And those were things that just kept drives alive for them early in that game.
You talked about Perkins having a really pretty good game at middle linebacker as well. Deontay Cox has a big game as a wide receiver. He becomes the third Spartan this year to become the player of the week in the league. And then your other freshman, the quarterback, Brenheisen, goes 15 of 18, 320 yards, 4 scores. Only one ball hit the ground all day because he had threw 2 picks. Just talk about those 3 freshmen.
Well, they're big-time playmakers, and I think what we're starting to see is the guys that we recruited. There's a certain level of getting adjusted to college football or college athletics that I don't care where you come from, there is an adjustment, and that's what we're seeing. I think Tim did an excellent job of managing the game, did an excellent job of getting the ball to Deontay and Isaiah and Devin, and those guys really showed the kind of players that they are. We had threw a screen pass to Deontay and he took it 70 yards for a touchdown. We threw a 5-yard hitch to Devin and he took it 50 yards for a touchdown, and a 12-yard post to Isaiah that he took for a touchdown. So those are the kind of plays that we expect from those guys, and I thought Tim did a great job of giving them the ball, and Kenyon did a great job at Mike linebacker, really stepped up and made a lot of plays there. So we talked about it even back on signing day of how excited we were about these freshmen, and they've played a big role in this team so far. And I think the comment I made to the staff and to the team is I really wish we had about 4 or 5 more weeks with these guys, because they're really starting to get comfortable with the system. They're getting comfortable with what college football is about and starting to really make some plays. So that's exciting for the future, but the future is this Saturday also.
Well, speaking of that, this Saturday you have another nationally ranked team. The 5th time in 10 games you play a nationally ranked team. So congratulations. But talk a little bit about your opponent this week.
Well, Marion is one of the best teams in the country. They've had 3 really close losses this year: St. Xavier, Concordia, and St. Francis, all teams that we've played, all teams that are nationally ranked, all teams. I wouldn't be shocked if all 4 of those teams make the playoffs this year. So they're just a really sound team. They're probably the best athletic team, most athletic team that we've played. They're very physical. They're very well coached, and this is just part of our league. It's part of being in the Mid-East League. You look at our schedule in the Mid-East Conference, and we have 3 teams in the Mid-East that are ranked in the top 20, and Marion really should be in the top 15. So when we tell people that we're in the toughest league in the country, it is what it is. I mean, it is a very tough league. It's a physical league. It's kind of like being in the NFC North back in the day is really who we are. You gotta really button your chin strap and put your mouthpiece in if you're going to play in the Mid-East Conference, and this week's going to be no different.
They like to run the football. They run the ball very well. Their quarterback's very efficient. Talk about their offense.
Well, they're dynamic. You know, they lost Krishan Hogan, who is you know, in the NFL right now. He's playing with the Colts, and I think he's injured right now. But you know, he was a dynamite player for them. Was Conference Player of the Year last year. But they reload. They've got great speed at the wide receiver position. They've got 2 running backs that are 6'1", 200 pounds, and they're just tough physical runners. Tight end that's really big and strong, and offensive line that's good. So, you know, I think this is going to be probably our toughest challenge that we see all year, and that's not sliding St. Francis, but I think these guys do a little bit more. Obviously, St. Francis beat them, but both teams are very similar in the type of football that they play. They're both very physical teams. I think Marion probably has a few more athletes than St. Francis. Especially out on the perimeter, but it's going to be a tough test. But you know, it's also something that we're not going to shy away from. They're in our league. We know it every year, and it's something that we just going to go out and take on the challenge.
You talked about their offensive line, your offensive line, 3 freshmen, 2 juniors. As those freshmen are getting older, are they figuring it out a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. We've shuffled around some of the guys in there as well, and they're starting to feel more comfortable in what they're asked to do. A lot of what football and just college athletics is about in general is repetition. You know, you can get those reps in practice, you can get those reps in an individual period, and those all help. But you also need the game reps. You need to see it in a game speed and a game tempo, and when somebody's really trying to go beat you and get to the quarterback and run different stunts on them. So those guys are starting to see more. They're starting to get those reps and understand how they can pick up what teams are trying to do to them a little bit earlier than what they did early in the season. But, you know, I'm proud of those guys. They just keep battling down there. They take the coaching that they're given, and Coach Williams does a great job of preparing them every week.
Kendall Davis has the most yards of a running back's ever had at the program here. Ethan Metzler's made more extra points than any kicker's ever had. Cox has the second most yards ever had. Those are just signs that the program is just moving in the right direction.
Yeah, you know, you got to look for those things, because obviously when you're in our league, it's tough at times to measure it just off of wins alone. And I know midway through the season we were frustrated. We felt like we had given a few games away that we really shouldn't have, or that maybe we could have competed a little harder in a game. But those are the things that we've got to look to and we've got to hang our hat on. But ultimately, you know, we're not recruiting on MBU record holders. We're not recruiting on, you know, whether somebody's setting a new school record, because those are things that we know are part of being a young program. They're going to keep happening at a higher frequency, hopefully. But yeah, we got to hang our hat on it a little bit. But at the same token, you know, we're all about getting those wins, and it's our goal in these last 2 games to pick up that 4th or 5th win to set a new record in wins, and that's really at the end of the day what we're after.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Getting a win this week, or 2 wins, or 1 week, you know, the following week, how big would it be to get that 4th win, a win past last year's total?
Well, I think it's really big, because again, it just sets the tone that we are moving forward. You know, we have a lot of young players that are talented that we mentioned, you know, that are players of the week. And Kendall Davis is a sophomore player of the week, Jalen Calley a freshman, Deontay Cox a freshman. So these guys are earning player of the week honors in the toughest league in the country, which is very meaningful. We can definitely use that as a recruiting tool, but I think there's no doubt getting that 4th win or 5th win is critical as we move forward. You know, you look just 2 years ago where we didn't have a win, and then if we can go to 3 wins last year and then be in a position with 2 games to go to have already matched that, you know, that's a great sign. But, you know, at the same token, we want to finish the season off the right way and pick up that 4th or 5th.
Big game against nationally ranked Marion on Saturday. That's the head football coach, Jason Burianek. I'm Harry Schrader. You've been watching The Coaches Show here on the Spartan Digital Network.